What's up, little flexers? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're ready because today we have the first in our series of Darkness Ablaze deck profiles. We will be profiling over the next couple of weeks here a new main attacker based deck from Darkness Ablaze. So our first Darkness Ablaze attacker that we are building our deck around is Charizard V-Max. Now Charizard V-Max, just taking a look at the card, first of all, beautiful card. Second of all, it's got a couple of weaknesses that we can look to try to shore up. So the first weakness that it has, we look at the card here, Claw Swipe for 3 energy, 100 damage, G-Max Wildfire for 5 energy, 300 damage, and you discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. So the first weakness that I can see is that the energy cost is very, very high. You're gonna need, if you try to power it up with Welder, the second attack, G-Max Wildfire, you would need 2 Welders over the course of 2 turns to power this behemoth up. Now, that is the first issue that needs to be addressed. The second issue is just the numbers game. So I talk about Pokemon having magic numbers and being able to hit magic numbers. And so what are the magic numbers post rotation? Well, one of the first magic numbers I think of is like 70 HP for a Jirachi. Okay, check, you hit that number. The next one is maybe 160 to 180 because you want to knock out Dedenne, Crobat, and Eldegoss. Now you do hit Eldegoss for weakness, thereby knocking it out in one shot, but the Crobat and Dedenne are a little bit more concerning in terms of how you can get up to those heavy, higher numbers. So we've tried to mitigate and address those 2 issues with our deck list. Now moving over to the deck list, the first thing that you'll notice in the top left corner is our Volcanion. That is the way that we're going to try to get around this hefty attack cost. So with Volcanion, Flare Starter, we can go ahead and attach energy on our first turn, ideally the second turn of the game. Attach 3 energy to our benched Charizard and get that ready to go, kind of right in striking distance for a G-Max Wildfire on the next turn. So I think for Volcanion is an absolute must. You want to start this Pokemon. We're playing a lot of other Pokemon in the list, and so you want to be able to increase your odds and have the best chances of starting Volcanion. Now, Volcanion is also a decent attacker. With its second attack can hit up to 110. And then when you add in Vitality Band and the other ways that we have to increase the damage, you can start hitting things for knockouts. So Volcanion, absolutely a 4 of. We have our Charizard V and the Charizard V-Max. Just to cover Charizard V, I was thinking of maybe including like a Victini V in the list just to have another attacking option. But I think the Charizard V can get away with doing the things that Victini wants to do with less deck spaces devoted. So we're going to keep it as consistent as possible for Charizard V. Claw Swipe for 80 damage. You can power that up in 1 turn. That's pretty reasonable for a first turn, attack. If you happen to start a Charizard V, you get a Welder 2 energy and you draw into another energy. You can Claw Swipe for 80. That's setting you up to Fire Spin for a knockout on the next turn. You have discard 2 energy from this Pokemon for Fire Spin, doing 220 damage. Fine. Nothing to write home about, but not the worst attack that we've seen on a V Pokemon. So then we included 3 Charizard VMAX. I have the 2 Evo Incense, so I feel like 3 Charizard VMAX is perfectly acceptable. You really can't get away with 2, and I honestly would rather run 4, but list is tight here. The second issue that we've tried to address is the damage output, and that's where the Zigzagoon and the Scoop Up Nets come in. So I've included 3 Zigzagoon in the list. If you can get all 3 Zigzagoon and use all 4 of your Scoop Up Net, then you're doing an additional 70 damage, which doesn't sound like a ton. But the problem is that if you're trying to hit these numbers like 320, 330, 340 of the Pokemon VMAX to try to one-shot them with your Charizard VMAX, then you're going to need just some additional damage counters somehow. So we get that through Vitality Band, of which we've included 2, and then we get that through our Zigzagoons, of which we've included 3. Now, Zigzagoon can also potentially get KOs on Dedenne. You look at Claw Swipe, attach a Vitality Band, you're up to 100 damage on the Charizard V-Max, and then you can do, some combination of Scoop Up Nets and Zigzagoons, and you're hitting 160. Is it reasonable to get up to 180 to try to KO a Crobat? Probably not, but at least you have that potential. We have 1 Dedenne for consistency and 1 Mewtwo, because I was going to include Eldegoss, but I figured that Mewtwo would be better since we're playing such high counts of Scoop Up Net. So you could go back to an Eldegoss. Let's say we cut all of the Zigzagoon and Scoop Up Net shenanigans. You could probably go back to Eldegoss. Just having more HP is probably a little bit better. But since we do play the Scoop Up Nets, I figured that the Mewtwo would be fine. We have 1 Crobat. I was originally going to put in 2 Dedenne because I do think we need 2 kind of support Pokemon like this, but I feel like with the welder based decks, you actually want to keep cards in your hand a lot of the time. So there are times where you just have too many energy in your hand, or you have a really crucial card that you want to keep for the next turn in your hand that you don't really want to discard. And so Crobat, I feel like, is just a better option. You can maybe go for the split, because there are some times where you would rather have Dedenne, sometimes where you'd rather have Crobat, and to split that difference, we'll play 1 of each. The other thing you can do is, Dedenne and then Crobat. That's certainly something that's an option that you wouldn't have the option of doing if you just played Dedenne. So I think the 1-1 split is fine, and I would look to include maybe more support Pokemon in the future. Moving on down to our supporters. We have 4 Welder. Absolute staple, cannot go lower than 4. These are the main way that we accelerate energy outside of the Volcanion's first attack. We also have a research for the times that you do not want to welder. There are just those times, again, like that first turn is a really good example where you're using Volcanion's first attack, you're flare startering to your bench Pokemon, and you don't really need a welder that turn. You can go ahead and Professor's Research that hand away and look for more cards. We also have a couple of Boss's Orders. Those are just for bringing up bench Pokemon that your opponent's trying to hide, or something that you can one-shot very easily on the bench. We also have 4 Pokegear 3.0. I considered going with Acrobikes, but I felt like for an initial list, just to see how it tested, I wanted to go just as straightforward as possible, kind of really lean into the welder strategy, and so I opted for Pokegear here. Now, I wouldn't fault you if you did go Acrobike, or if you tried to cut other things from the list to fit in Acrobikes as well. I could see cutting the Zigzagoons and the Scoop Up Nets and just going for like an Acrobike, maybe Green's Exploration based build. That would be totally fine. For now, this is what we have. This is what we've come up with. We have 4 Quick Ball. Pretty self-explanatory there. The 4 Scoop Up Net help us get back the Zigzagoon, the Volcanion, and also the Mewtwo. Very, very important for this build. We also have 4 Switch. That's going to get us our Pokemon into the active. We want that Volcanion in the active on the first turn, and we want to pivot in case our opponent Boss's Orders up something that we don't quite have powered up yet. So 4 Switch, an absolute must. 2 Evo Instants, I already touched on that, but I think that is the best search that we have. It's the most low maintenance search that we have. And what I mean by that is Pokemon communication could work. Not ideal because we don't play a ton of Pokemon in the list. And it's hard to really say that we would start with a Pokemon to calm away. And then Great Ball, again, same reasoning that we wouldn't play Calm, is like I don't feel like we play enough Pokemon to be able to Great Ball effectively. So for now, I've included the Evo Instants. We have a lot of other cards in here that are a little bit more situational, right? The Welder needing 2 fire energy in hand, Scoop Up Net, you need to have, things on the bench that you want to scoop up, and etc. So the Evo Instants is just the card that it's just like, it's always going to work. It's always going to do everything that you want it to. And I think that's a welcome inclusion in the deck. We got 2 Vitality Band, again, to increase the damage. You could put something like Big Charm in, but since we don't play any healing, I felt like the damage numbers were low enough that it really kind of necessitated having Vitality Bands. You could go a different way with this. Again, Big Charm would be a really good inclusion, and there are a few other tools that I would consider, but for now, we are going with Vitality Band to shore up the problem of low damage output. We have 1 Fire Crystal just to recover those fire energy. A couple of Giant Hearths. I would love to have more, but it is what it is. We're trying to fit in a stage 1 Pokemon and do a bunch of other stuff. So 2 is the max that we could fit. and then as many fire energy as possible. 13 was the number that I settled at. So let me know down in the comments below, guys, if you think this is the correct way to play Charizard VMAX, or if you have a better idea. I would love to hear it, sincerely. So that is our Charizard VMAX deck profile. Let me know what other decks you'd like to see profiled in the future, because we got a whole list of them, but maybe I missed one. So thanks again, guys, for watching this Darkness Ablaze post-rotation deck list for Charizard VMAX. I will catch you on the next video. Remember, good luck and also have fun. See ya.